Okay. Well, tonight I'd like to start off this program with a little video clip that I did about 10 months ago because I don't know if you're aware, but you guys may know how much I supported Trump months and way before anything had happened. And a lot of the predictions that were made when no one was even thinking about it and no one saw the possibility of him even winning or the prospects of him winning the 2024 election, I was spot on. But anyway, as I said, I would like to start off with a clip from 10 months ago in relation to Trump. And I would like to show you how it applies to the current situation with the NNP saga and as it relates to Peter David. So take a look at the clip and then we'll have some discussions. When things happen in life and it seems like it's not going your way, just sometimes you need not worry. As the old adage says, behind every cloud, there is a silver lining. So while the legacy media mob is celebrating the appeals court of the DC Circuit decision to deny Trump presidential immunity, there is a silver lining. And of course, we're here now. Donald Trump is the president-elect. He will, for all intents and purpose, be the president on January 28th. But at that time, with so many court cases arrayed against him, guess what? No one possibly think there would have been a comeback. And of course, don't get me wrong, I'm not considering Peter David to be any Donald Trump, not by a very far margin. But it just goes to show, especially in the annals of politics, there is always a possibility of redemption. There's always a possibility that you making up with people, and there's always a possibility of you being bedfellows with people who you actually hated. So there's an opportunity. But this is what Peter David has to do. He has to form his own party, but he has to form a centrist party where he's neither left, neither right. So then he has an appeal to leftists and center left, and he has an appeal to right and center right. That way he can quote both of the parties and players and electorate in both of the parties. And I am telling you, if he does that, he stands a chance. Now, for those who seem to think that Peter David is finished, and I'm sure his ops, this is definitely what they would like to see. I mean, it's a win-win for NDC and in some respects, a new solidified NNP. But I don't think it's over. If Mr. David acts extremely fast, decisive, and with strength and courage, he can, in some respects, salvage some of the political capital left. But as I said, he has to act very fast and very decisive. So, what can Mr. David do? Well, for starters, he needs to act extremely fast and resign from the NNP party. He doesn't want to end up in a situation where he is again expelled from another party. It will be on his record. He cannot allow himself to be expelled from another party. So he has to resign as quick as is possible and as best as he can take whatever portion of support that he can with him. It would be for him a sort of revenge if he truly believes that he was slighted. Secondly, he has to go about very quickly solidifying his support in the tongue of St. George and then launching immediately a three-pronged political approach along the western side, along the eastern side, and through the middle of the country, all the way up to the north. That would be a very smart political three-pronged approach. Hey, what does he have to lose? Even if he doesn't succeed as much, guess what? He would have had some impact on the NDC and on the NNP, and in the position he is right now, if he gains traction and he gains support, guess what? The NDC and the NNP would be forced to code him all over again. So Peter David is not over unless Peter David wants to be over. If what he said about the ability to get regional and international financing and the political context he has, then that will work in his favor in actually building a centrist party. Then there should be tons of people regionally and internationally coming to his aid. This would be a good opportunity to test those relationships and to test the relationships that he has locally. Now, the politics in Grenada has shown that no one party is neither here nor there and is exactly a powerhouse. And we have seen, although the NNP has been in power for 20-something years, guess what? Now, their position is a bit tenable, okay? And the NDC, we know the history. They're good at securing power, but based on historical experience, it doesn't seem like that they're good at holding on to power. So, I say that to say, there is a chance. And I've seen some guys totally dismissing a third party and stuff like that. But my friend, I think the time is ripe for a third party. So the German has to learn from his mistakes, and we will go through some of the mistakes that he made so that for future potential seekers of power, political power, will not repeat those same mistakes. But right now, as I said, he has to exit the NNP party. Don't let them fire him. Don't let that be on his record again. And again, he has to totally discard all that leftist rhetoric, totally discard all that left-leaning policy, and consolidate his Tongue of St. George position as a centrist party. There was some talk of them trying to form a party back in the days, United Front or something like that. But he can't bring in those old leftists that he brought into the NNP party with him. This has to be from scratch. He cannot use his old buddy who was trying to support him in the NNP situation unless he has some sort of contractual arrangement with him in order to help him or assist him in getting some of the votes from the northern part of the country. But as I said, solidify his St. George's base and slowly work his way up along the western side, work his way up along the eastern side, okay, and cut through the middle until he intersects at the north of the country. And I am telling you, there is opportunity for him, but he has to totally reinvent himself, okay? And there's not a lot of time to do it, but it could be done. There are people who are disgruntled on both sides of the aisle. And I'm telling you, it's quite possible they're looking for an alternative. And even if, let's say, as I said, even if he doesn't succeed in totally securing some sort of state power or government, guess what? He would be more in a politically powerful position where two of these parties will, in somehow, need to come to him for some assistance to win some election. It's not as easy and as simple as it looks. It's not as easy and it's not as simple as it looks. Because, for example, while I understand and I support the process in the NNP with Miss Emmeline Peer, there's a lot of work that would need to be done to actually have her ready for elections in 2 years. That's not a long time. It's a lot of work. So it's not like right now the NNP is in such a solid position. And again, even if the NDC is in power, there's always reason and there's always going to be people who are disgruntled. The cards are in their favor. But that doesn't mean it's a done deal at all. Not even by a fast stretch. Remember, a lot of the support that came to the NDC was euphoric. It was in a climate of COVID. It was in a climate of, again, remember I said, piggybacking and actually what was happening in the United States from the Democrat Party actually helped propel the NDC into power. Again, certain ideology, as much as Peter Wickham and those guys, they say, oh, ideology is not important. Oh, no, in a very subtle way. Ideology expresses itself. It's not necessarily a party saying, I am this particular ideology or I am center left. But the policies, the things they do on a grassroots level reflect who they are. So, with what was happening in the United States, as I said, the whole euphoric nature of what was happening, the whole leftist leaning and woke ideology, which was catering for most center left parties, helped, whether they understand it or not, it actually helped the NDC and propelled them to power. But that is gone. You have now, you have now a right-leaning party. So that in itself could work in a little favor for the NNP, but the NNP is, as I said, they're not in a very tenable position right now. So that is where Peter David and his new party comes in. Centrist party, neither left, neither right. And I am telling you, they could grab some votes. If he plans this right, if he does this right, he can be a force to be reckoned with. But he has to reinvent himself and shake off all that leftist ideology. I can't help but state that again and again. He has to totally reinvent himself, pick up the pieces, and move on. And it would be a good opportunity for him to get some sort of, quote unquote, I don't like the phrase, a political revenge, but if he actually believed in what he believed, and if he felt that things were undemocratic, here is an opportunity to create institutions of democracy within his own party and can have an appeal. I am telling you, it's quite possible this can be done, but he has to act very fast. Time is of the essence. Time is of the essence. So Peter knows what he has to do now, but let's take a look at the mistakes that were made with him wanting to secure the leadership of the NNP party. Mistake number one is that as soon as Keith Mitchell decided that he was going to let go of the leadership position, Peter David immediately and publicly expressed his opinion about securing the leadership. And then, based on what was said by Mr. Boeing, Julius Boeing, that is, it seems like he was anxious about trying to secure the leadership of the party and immediately started to campaign in a sort of way that was not appropriate for internal party setting, but he campaigned as if he was campaigning for a national election, which is a whole different thing, which immediately opened Keith Mitchell's eyes and say, whoa, this guy is moving too fast. He's too anxious. It came across as, avaricious. He's ready for the position. And he was the only one. So that's a problem. He needed to do what I like to describe as have a little political foreplay. Slowly approach the political prize. And as a matter of fact, the first thing, if he understood the politics of the NNP, he would have realized that Keith Mitchell, as much as the NNP is an institution, Keith Mitchell is an institution within an institution. And if he understood the political structure of the NNP, he'd realize how leader-centric the NNP party was. Willingly or unwillingly, and it seems willingly. It seems that benefits was accruing to members of the NNP and to the nation at large, so people went along with it. Part of the reason that NDC got a chance is you talk to many people, you talk to the electorate, and they'll tell you because they wanted to give somebody else a chance. There were NNP people that I know personally who said to me, I voted for the NDC because I figured that Keith Mitchell was in power for too long. And I wanted to give these young guys a chance. I wanted to change because they were afraid that the length of power that he had was, quote unquote, in their words, making him a little corrupt. You see what I'm saying? So that's part of the reason why NDC won. And of course, there's a significant promise. I mean, somebody who was very aware of the matters of politics in Grenada said to me that the promise of paying the pension was significant. That was a significant part of the campaign because these people were like, I want my money, I want it now. And if you're going to give me my money, I am going to support you. And that is why, which I don't think was a politically savvy move, but that is why as soon as the NDC got into power, They had no choice but to spend all this money to pay off the pension. I would have hoped that, they would have done it gradually, but I guess they could not because of the campaign promise. And people were holding it, against them and said, look, we need our money and we need it now. So they had to make good on their promise. I mean, no political party has to do anything, but I guess they did it, But it would have been something if they could have stretched it out a little bit over a period of time. It would have created more political capital for them, because now, they'll have to find more creative ways to keep these very people within the party and to vote for them the next time around. But hey, what do I know? So back to Peter David. You should have behind the scenes conversation with Keith Mitchell about his intention. But what he should have said publicly is that I would express my desire for the leadership position, but I will only get involved if I receive the blessings of Dr. Keith Mitchell. And what does that do? I'll tell you what that does. Then that puts the weight of pressure on Dr. Keith Mitchell. So if he publicly says, look, I would only seek the leadership position of the NNP party if I receive the blessings of Dr. Keith Mitchell, imagine Dr. Keith Mitchell saying no to that. That would be a problem for him. If he came out and said, no, then that would be a problem for him. Because then it's like, okay, here's a man trying to honor the lead of the party, especially in a time when he's trying to exit. And then he kind of sucks up to him a bit. Now, people who know and who talk about how Keith Mitchell secured the leadership of the NNP party initially would tell you, as a matter of fact, I think I saw in one of the programs, that they used to call Keith Mitchell a sort of house slave of sorts because he would do everything that H.A. Blaze wanted done. So he played the game. I mean, this man didn't secure the leadership of the NNP party. I mean, he played the game right. So he sucked up to H.A. Blaze when he needed to. And then when the time was right, timing is everything. When the time was right, when he felt like probably H.A. Blaze was a little incapacitated and could not put up a serious fight against him, guess what? Then he struck. And then he secured the leadership of the NNP party. So, again, I think Peter David was a little too anxious and he didn't engage in enough political foreplay. He didn't gauge his position in a party. And he wasn't tactful in many respects. And if he had used a little more diplomacy in dealing with the situation, today, the problems that he is suffering, he would have not have suffered them. And most importantly of all, Peter David should have truly gauged the support that he has within the party at the upper echelon level. Gauge it. And if you don't have that support, you have to tread cautiously. Again, I always like that quote. There's a guy who said that he who knows when to fight and when not to fight shall not lose in 1,000 battles. But obviously, Peter did not do his estimation correctly. One of these political writers, Robert Greene, who also said that you should never, never outshine the master or attempt to outshine the master. That politically proved fatal for Mr. David. He did not estimate the forces that were arrayed against him, and he did not understand. After interacting so much with Keith Mitchell, he did not understand the personal psychology and temperament of the man. Remember, this is the same man who said 2 male crab can't stay in one hole. So if you're dealing with him and he has a strong, overpowering character, people like that, you have to cajole them, You have to gently persuade, flatter. That's the only way you're going to get through. If you come direct, you're going to get resistance. You have to seduce them. You have to, he's smart. You will see seduction from a mile away. But you have to do it in such subtle ways that he feels that he's conferring benefits on you. You have to make him feel like everything is emanating from him. But if you stand up and offer some sort of resistance and, come across as some sort of strong character, you're going to get resistance. Look at the young lady. Look at Emmeline Pierre. She comes across as polite, a little smile. Don't mistake that for weakness. At least look where she's at right now. She is the political leader. Say what you want to say. Say that Dr. Mitchell is running the show from behind the scenes, but she is the face of the NNP right now. She is the political leader. So she achieved what she wanted to achieve without being brute, without being direct, without being abrasive, without being confrontational. But she got it. At the end of the day, that is all that matters. She got it. And then Peter, as much as people may think about his abilities, guess what? He is sidelined. He didn't get it. And how did that help him? How did that work out? So power is not always brash or direct or brutish. So he didn't understand the personal psychology of Dr. Keith Mitchell. He didn't understand his standing in the party. He didn't understand or gauge the political affiliations in the party and how much support he had, especially at the upper echelons of the party. And he did not understand how leader-centric. And that is so clear. So these things, fundamentally, it was a horrible miscalculation. But again, we all make mistakes. And hopefully, going forward, he would have learned from those things. So defeat is never a happy thing. It's never a good feeling. It's never good to see anybody's political demise or any type of demise. But I wish the man all the best. And I hope he can use this as a stepping stone to move on and to build upon his failures. Embrace the failures in a sort of way of as a learning experience and says, look, I can build upon this and I can move on and I can become better and I can do better. And he should fully understand where he stands in the political struggles of Grenada, what the Grenadian people desire of him. And I think that experience should or would have given him extreme clarity if he uses it properly. Forget the fighting. It's obvious. The convention went ahead without a hitch. His name wasn't even mentioned. So the people of the NNP party have already moved on. It's time for him now to move on.